Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us again for Food for Thought. This is Sunil Chandy, and this is a ministry out of Christ Episcopal Church, and thank you for being with us today. And if you are here with us, please do say hello. Tell us that you're here. Tell us that you're connecting with us so that we could say hello to you, so you could connect with all the people who are watching us as well. And again, it's a joyful day. It's the week before the Monday before Christmas. And so this is always sometimes a tense, anxious time, but also a time that if we orient our gaze in the right way, we can find great joy and hope and the gifts of God around us and learn to appreciate them. So again, if you are here, just say hello. Tell us that you're here and that you're connecting with us here this morning. So as you do that, I'll start with the food for thought. The food for thought, again, is one that I usually come up with, or one that comes out of Scripture. And today's the readings for Christmas Eve is just powerful. The Christmas Day services. It's the lessons appointed for Christmas, the Feast of Christmas Day, and from it is Isaiah chapter 9, verses 2 to 7. And I love the people who have walked in darkness have seen a great light. Namaste, Betsy. Those who have lived in a land of deep darkness, and then light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the trampling warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulder, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. I love this passage because it is what New Testament writers use to describe the experience of Jesus and his messiahship as people started to believe in him and believe in the way of love, the way of the cross, the way of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And so, but it's an interesting thing about this Isaiah passage, because first Isaiah, there are three people who really preach in the name of, or who write scriptures in the name of Isaiah, and that is first Isaiah, second Isaiah, and third Isaiah. And all of them are speaking to a people who are entering into the exile period, or who are engaged in the exile period, or who are returning home from the exile period. So first Isaiah is the original prophet, the prophet Isaiah, who is the prophet while Judah, there are two nations now, Judah and also northern tribe of Israel, how Judah now is going to be overtaken by Babylon. And Isaiah is speaking to the people of Judah and also to Israel, and asking them to have hope. Now, second Isaiah, while they have been taken over to Babylon, that prophet speaks of hope. And then finally, the third Isaiah speaks to us about the restoration. It's about 70 years, that exile period in Babylon. And so here is Isaiah, first Isaiah, saying these words in chapter 9, verses 2 through 7, and you could just sense what's happening is, at this time, the northern tribe of Israel, Israel is the actual nation is divided into two. The northern tribe is being taken over has already been taken over by the Assyrians. The Babylonians are coming, and so Isaiah is given this vision of hope. And what happens is, I love this because it's actually a future vision, because it's a future vision of what could be, and so he is giving them this hope and this future vision. And by the way, I think this is part of why people believe that prophets prophesy. They kind of tell the future. Well, what I think Isaiah is really doing is giving a future vision, a vision of what would God might imagine, or what we might imagine that God will establish if God's reign were established on earth, and if God's person was in control. And so even in the first couple of verses, you see, they rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder, for the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders you have broken as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the trampling warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. That means that all of the pain that they're going through, they won't experience in this future vision. And what it is it's this future vision that gives them hope to endure the suffering of the moment, knowing that their suffering has meaning. And how they carry on that hope helps them through this particular challenge, but then also helps them as they get to the other side of it. And then these words actually stay, these scriptures stay, and eventually it helps to teach this people of God the vision of the hope, a vision of a hope that they will think will be established sometime in the future, with whoever the leader would be. And eventually, Jesus chooses to be that type of leader for us Christians, one who will lead the world by this movement of the heart and compassion and love. And so I think this is important for us because we're right now in the midst of this global challenge, and we might not experience, we might be in a sense of we might feel some despair, especially during this Christmas. It's going to be financially hard for many people. It's also we're separated and isolated from our families. We have to be for this crisis, and it may make people really feel hopeless. But like Isaiah gives us, let's have a future vision, a vision that'll be hopeful for us, so that we could see that there's light at the end of this tunnel, and that God is going to get us through. And in the moment, we could learn what we can of this situation, about our experiences. We could be curious about what's happening with us. I know that I'm isolated from my family members, extended family members, but at this moment, I have my other family members here, my kids, and it's time to learn who they are. Or if you don't have your kids with you today, it might be someone else, your friends, the people that you connect with on the internet or by the phone. Be curious and be hopeful, because God is working through this time as well, bringing us to the other side. And just like Isaiah proclaimed the hopeful message to those people who are out, who are being exiled into Babylon, reminding them that God is walking with them, God is walking with us as well. Today we have, again, our wonderful guest, Sharon Younkin, who is going to give us some wisdom and joy and hope as well. And so, Ben, I invite you to bring Sharon on. But first, we have a little video that we're going to show, and a video that has brought a great deal of joy to me and for many people. Thanks. Come on, Ben. Let's start. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Brother Sunil, how are you?
That always brings a smile to my face. And same with you. I mean,
Oh, it
I'm so happy.
does. It always does. Here, let me change so I can see you.
You always look cool to me.
Yeah, I've watched that repeatedly to it just makes me smile. I laugh every time, want to dance with it. So
I know. You know what? And that's the thing about it. I mean, I think part of it is that in the midst of challenge, when it's hard, it's okay to find joy where we can find it.
it is. I've been thinking a lot, reflecting a lot on this particular episode because of, my gosh, like this is such a big moment for us, Christmas, right? And anyway, even before the pandemic, holidays could bring up a lot for folks
Yeah.
in my experience. And so yeah, so I think the fact that you and I are trying to walk the balance of and today, I want to respect the struggle and the suffering, and I also want to allow for the joy and the gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're trying to do right now, walk that line. And so I thought maybe I could start off with what some of the thoughts I've had about maybe more of the struggle and the suffering. And we can also then transition to talking about the joy too, and the resiliency. But, I thought for me, the theme today is probably faith and focus on what you can control, sort of what I'm thinking about. And one of my Facebook friends, a choir member, actually posted this beautiful song by Mark Miller, that performed by the ULV Chamber Singers Virtual Choir, and it was called "I Believe." And I love the words to it because to me, it really fits the season. And it's, I believe in the sun even when it's not shining. I believe in love even when I don't feel it. I believe in God even when God is silent. And I thought, as a psychotherapist, I would love to add a fourth line, which would be, I believe in healing even when I don't see it. Because one of my jobs is I have to, when someone first comes to me, you have to imagine when people first come to me, they are usually in their most desperate moments. And so I have to generate hope. That is like a big thing of what I do. I have to bring hope to people. And when the brain is a complicated piece of equipment, it doesn't change overnight. A lot of times, people just want to have one quick thing, but a lot of times healing, you have to do multiple things in various ways over and over again to start to see change. So there really is this period of time where you are taking a leap of faith, where you are continuing to take action without necessarily seeing results. And so I think, to me, this whole season of Advent too, that's about hope and it's about faith and knowing that you're going to get through the darkness to the light. I see that all the time with my clients. And in some ways, I feel like today is about honoring them because I see the courage day in and day out of people who are just so depressed or so low, and they continue to move forward and they continue to follow the treatment plan and they get to the other side. And so I know that people get to the other side. I've seen it over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's so important, I think, right now, that we're going to get to the other side, even though it doesn't mean it's pain-free. No. And that's why you and I have been trying to coach everyone how to allow for emotions in a way where they're not overwhelming, to not be afraid of feelings. Pain is temporary. Pain will pass. It's a feeling, right?
Yeah.
So But I pause there for a moment, and then I have a Christmas story of my own that I thought might be helpful.
Yeah,
But
yeah, definitely. I love what you say about this. This idea about, you know, knowing that the pain is real. We like to, sometimes I think we like to think of, uh, like our vision of hope as being anesthetizing the moment, kind of not being able to engage in this, and we, like you hear it in conversation when somebody is angry at somebody else or when they're sad, you'd hear our cultural messages: don't be sad, don't
yes,
be angry. Put that away. Put a smile on your face. Don't feel that because you don't need to. That's negative energy. But
right.
but actually, what I've learned, and I think through our conversations, is this idea that you know that you can't put a band-aid over something like that. You've got to, yeah, expose it. Know that it's hard. Know that this time is hard. Feel the feelings that you have, and like you said, let it pass, and so that you could get to the other side of it. Um, I really appreciate that message now. I mean,
Yeah.
it is hard. Christmas is hard today, right?
It is hard. This is going to be a tough Christmas. And hope, yeah, hope doesn't I agree with you. Everyone just thinks of hope as being, like you said, an anesthetized kind of feeling, but hope comes with a lot of struggle and suffering.
Yeah, that's right.
It comes with it's not an either or, it's an and so one of the things I thought, so I thought to myself, well, I thought I would share a Christmas for me that was a struggle, but just how much I got out of it. Because I know one of the things that people really struggle with right now, and also I've seen, throughout my career, sometimes the hardest ones can be when folks are struggling financially and they feel there's so much pressure to, we've turned it into such a materialistic kind of event. And it can really be heartbreaking for people. They think they can't provide for kids or they can't, give to others the way they would really like to. And so anyway, this particular Christmas was 2002. And it was it was when I was going through a divorce. And it was my first Christmas as a single mother. And I remember I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I just finished graduate school and was not working yet. I mean, I was looking for a job. I mean, I had nothing at that point. And so we found an artificial Christmas tree in the apartment building that someone was throwing out. And we set it up and it was like our little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And my daughter and I, we made it work. It was a very simple Christmas. And I have to say, since then as I, have grown my career and developed more financial security and then eventually bought my own place, the poems that my daughter has written have been about that little apartment. She's
Wow.
written poems about that Christmas tree or poems about the things that I thought weren't enough, and so I guess my message to people is that, and she learned, like we all learned, I learned during that time that I think I had to learn humility because I was very independent and, very strong-willed and never should ask anyone for help, have to do it all on my own. And I learned going through that really hard time in my life that I need people, I need God, I need to work with others. I learned all of these really incredible lessons about life. My daughter learned the value of no because she couldn't get everything she asked for. That's really important. That's really important that young people know, how to budget, or there are a lot of lessons that she learned. And now we're all flourishing, we're doing well, my ex, myself, and my daughter. So you come through those times. In the moment, it felt dark, but, you have to keep pushing through, the basic steps. You keep getting up, you keep doing what you need to do. You have the faith. And we all always continue to go to church the entire time. We continue to have the faith in these different things, and moving through it. So anyway.
I just love that one. I just wanted to, just that one point that I thought was just, I mean, this is beautiful. It's a beautiful story. I think uh, the other thing is also, it's in that darkness, in that where there is this light of hope, uh, and but you don't might not see it. There's also this idea that community.
Mm,
You and your daughter were together.
we were, yes. Yes.
And that I mean, that's powerful. I mean, even if we look at the Christmas story, right?
Mhm.
Joseph and Mary were together. There were other people that were coming along, and they were all together. They didn't. Their lives were broken in some way, but they were in community together. I mean,
Mhm.
and 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 the sense is that God is present,
Mhm.
even if we might seem to be alone at home behind a screen or something,
Mhm.
there's still community. God is present with you. You could always reach out to people, and we could all share in this suffering together, and it makes it easier, you
It
know.
does. That's what I learned during also from all of that time, those lessons that when I reached out and I connected with others, it was so much easier.
Yeah.
And it was, and when, I think recently I had a neighbor walk down the street. I didn't know her, an 87-year-old woman who brought cookies, and she said, "This is how you get to know people." And I found out she'd been, living alone for 30 years. Her husband died 30 years ago, but here she was. And I guarantee you, I will be bringing something to her house now.
Yeah.
That is how, you reach out and that's part of resiliency, doing those kinds of things,
Yeah.
and so I think that's part of it, is like, having the faith that you're going to get through this. And then the resiliency, all the things that we've been talking about, building connections, which everybody we're a team. One of the things I often say to folks when they come to me and they're struggling, I say, we're a team.
Yeah.
We're a team. We're in this together, like you and I, we're a team, and we're a team with everyone who's watching. Like, you are part of a community. This is a team. We're going to get through this together, you know? And
Yeah.
remember that if you are alone this Christmas, you're not totally alone, because we're here with you. God is here with you. There's always something too you can take. And I was listening to, I love the Sunday School YouTube channel, and the Sunday
Yeah.
that Lisa and Allison are working on. There's some great readings, letters from Jesus, that I think religion can have these great reframes. And there was one that I read, gosh, let me see here. It was about that I listened to recently. Oh, a letter from Jesus from in Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17, talking about, I thought this was so what we try to do, the perspective we try to bring in my field, that an ongoing problem is like a tutor who's always by your side. I may be teaching you patience, strength, faith, or courage. Thankful for a problem. Be thankful for problems. Because I'll often say to my folks, this is an opportunity to build your skills. This is an opportunity. So I think too, these problems, if you can see them from the point of view, from when you take a step back and you see them in terms of your faith, you also see them as not as small. You see them as temporary, that they will pass. So this whole idea, though, I really like the line of the whole reframe of what you can learn. Even Jesus in his letters, he's talking about these lessons, what you
Yeah.
can get from this. To me, that's meaning making. That's getting through a really tough time. If you can make meaning out of it, that's going to help you to be more resilient. Um,
Yeah. I mean, the other day I was talking to one of our Altar Guild members. We had a Zoom meeting on Altar Guild. These are women who, on the most part, they're over 65, right? And we had about 12 of those folks on, and on Zoom on their laptop.
I
Now,
love that. Yeah.
9 months before, they would not. I mean, they would. Some of them would know how to email. They would really not be engaged in Facebook or Zoom or anything along those lines. It would just be too much for them.
Yeah.
But now we're together.
Mhm.
and we're doing this,
Yeah.
and actually it's good for them. Not only they've learned through this thing, they're finding joy in it.
Yeah.
We're speaking to each other, we're crying, we're joyful, we're praying for our loved ones who are both near and far, and
Mhm.
we're connecting.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, out of that challenge, I mean, yes, we're going to get through this global challenge with COVID-19. But then on the other side of it, these folks now have skills to go on any website. They can
Yes.
access Medicare, Social Security, all the things that they need to out there that
Yes.
they might have been fearful of before. Now, through this experience, they've learned not to be afraid.
Yes. And that's the part, the focus on what you can control, right? That when we have faith, it's not about just sort of giving up to God and then sitting back and doing nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, believe me, when I was in that 2-bedroom apartment, I had to work really hard. And I had, at one point, I had 3 jobs, so I mean, to get out of that situation. But so it's just, and you've said that yourself too, Father Sunil, it's not just about faith isn't just about sitting back, right? It's, yes, giving the anxiety up to God, giving the fear up to God, and then moving forward and focusing on what you can control. And I've seen that too. I could see it in the bazaar. I could see all of these older folks who I know probably really wouldn't have done this me, myself, who am I kidding? You and I have talked about this. I was like, done. I was not going to ever get another computer. I was like, I'm beyond that. I'm, headed out to the pasture. And
God's not done with you yet. That's what it is.
God's not done with me, because it's like, oh no, you don't.
Right. And you know what? And so here's the thing. I mean, part of it is that you know, when we don't get locked down with the fear, with and if our expectations are not met, and we don't have those expectations now, and we don't know what to do, right? And we're not locked down with the fear, then all of a sudden we could be curious. We could
Yes.
start thinking outside of the box. We
Yes.
want to see something new. Like that virtual bazaar was totally outside of the box.
Totally. And then when I hear what you're doing with the Christmas service and the outdoor service, and with the candles, and I mean, it just keeps going. And it's just, I think, as painful as this year has been in a lot of ways, I also think, and I can honestly say this, I've seen some of the most beautiful things I've seen,
Yeah. Yeah.
in my lifetime, in terms of people coming together and thinking creatively, and having faith and having hope.
Yeah.
It's really been quite moving, you know.
And it's almost as if we've gotten permission. Okay, things aren't going to work out perfectly, but
Mhm.
that's fine. It's going
Yeah,
to still work out.
I
And
kind of, for me, that's a relief. It's like, we don't have to be perfect. What a relief,
it's
right?
funny. Sometimes I was thinking at the Eucharist, right? And if you might notice it sometimes, there was always, I used to be a very shy person, and when I made mistakes, I would carry it on with me, right, for a
Mm.
long time. And so if there's like a fumble in the way I say a prayer or something, I just like, oh, I'm like petrified. And then what happens is you make more mistakes. You
Yeah,
just like, so now,
increasing your anxiety.
right. And so now I go like, okay, I made the mistake. Now I'm good. Now I can be free. I can
Yeah,
do what I need to do,
I
And
love that. I love that. And do you think that that's come with the pandemic too? Do you think you've developed some more flexibility because of that, or?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think part of it is it's a host of things. I mean, I think it's just life and teaching me, and then this whole experience. I mean, I mean, I love is the fact that God gives us wisdom in the midst of challenge.
Mhm. Yeah.
In the midst of challenge, we learn who we are, what we
Mhm.
believe, and we learn. I think the greatest message is that we can get through. We are resilient.
We are resilient.
You
Yes.
know.
We are resilient with all, and we've been talking now for several months. And one of the things I'd like to do in January when we meet again would be to review some of the things that we've covered the past year. What I like to do at the end of the year is review with folks. Okay, what have we learned and where do we want to go from here? So, we'll do a little bit of reviewing, but we've talked about quite a few ways to be skillful, resilient. We've been preparing for the past year. And so we're moving through this. And I think it doesn't mean, though, you're not going to have dark moments. It doesn't mean you aren't going to have painful moments or moments of suffering or feeling hopeless during these times. I think, though, remember that when you are in a dark place, the mind is a tricky thing. And I say to folks, don't assess, the worth of yourself or your situation when you are in a dark place, because our brain works in a way where our negative thinking fuses with fact. And you're going to lose any kind of conversation you try to have in those moments. So if you are in a really dark place, do something behavioral, like don't think, don't use your mind. Your mind will trap you. Think, like do some behavioral, go for a walk. We've talked about all the self-care kind of things. And if you really get stuck and you're doing all these things, then reach out for help. And we have sources on our website about where you can reach out. I work for RICBT. We have lots of places, online help. But, I think the important thing is to remember, too, that not to get, I'll often say thinking can be overrated in those dark moments. It's really more about action. So.
No, I love that. And, I was just, I love with that. I think like the whole idea, I even when you were speaking, the whole, when you're in that dark place, find something to do that isn't thinking. That's beautiful. I love that. I'm going to think about this. You've given me a lot to think about, Sharon.
Yes. I appreciate that, Father Sunil. I love bouncing ideas off of you and back and forth. And that's been something that I've been so grateful for. It's really, really made the pandemic, that's been one of the great gifts for me of this time.
Same here. You've helped me find wisdom and hope.
You as well, Father Sunil, for me too. Yeah.
God bless you, Sharon. And if I don't see you on Christmas Eve or something, Merry Christmas.
You as well. Merry Christmas to you and Simi and your boys. I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
We will. All right. God bless you. Bye. It's beautiful. Sharon is amazing. Again, always giving me wisdom and giving us wisdom, and hopefully we'll thank you, Yvonne, and Marie. Thank you. We will continue to find wisdom in our conversations. But right now, let's end our time in prayer. The prayer that we was written by Bishop Thomas Brown of Maine. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Jesus Christ, you traveled through towns and villages, curing every disease and illness. At your command, the sick were made well. Come to our aid now in the midst of the global spread of the coronavirus. Heal those who are sick with the virus. May they regain their strength and health through quality medical care. Heal us from our fear, which prevents nations from working together and neighbors from helping one another. Be present with those in authority who are making hard decisions. Support the medical professionals, emergency responders, and our caregivers. We ask this all in your name, Jesus. Amen. Join with me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, go in peace to love and serve God. Spread the light of Christ, the light of Christmas to the world around you. Spread the joy. The world needs it right now.
Hey, Facebook friends. My name's Caswell Cook, and I am the junior warden here at Christ Church Westerly, and I'm here to issue a challenge to all the folks that love to watch our programming here on social media. Food for Thought with Father Sunil 5 days a week, our services that are streamed on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. All of those things have a cost. And right now we're trying to make our budget for 2021. And it's a little difficult because each year when people pledge for the year coming up, we're able to make a budget. And if we look at the trends of the last few years, we will see that some years it's up, some years it's down, but we are on a downward trend. And this year we are going to reverse that downward trend because I'm going to encourage you to fill out a pledge form. Pledge form is very easy. In fact, it's right below in the comment section. You can just click it and then email it to Christ Church. Or you can click and make a one-time donation too, which is also a link below. Our challenge to you is 40 pledges, new pledges, or reoccurring pledges that haven't filed yet by the end of this year. That leaves us with 2 weeks. But we can do it, Christ Church friends and family. We can do it because we want to keep this place viable and we want to keep this place successful. And once the pandemic is over, we don't want to stop streaming. We want to keep it going, but it costs a lot of money. In fact, it costs $30,000 this year to stream all of these services. But we transition seamlessly from in-person to online services. And now we kind of have a hybrid situation going on. Pledging is a weird word. It's something that people don't do much anymore. And so I kind of wanted to put it into layman's terms. We just kind of need to know that you'll help us in 2021. And by writing it down in advance, it really does help us. By knowing what's coming in the following year, it enables us to set a budget. So you could just simply say, listen, I can give $50 next year, or I could give $5,000 next year. The amount doesn't really matter. We want to get more folks involved. And if you're watching this in Texas or England or anywhere around the world and Christ Church has become your new home online, we need your help too. You're a parishioner. It counts. But we need your help. But we need folks to step forward and to say, this is what I will do in 2021, no matter what the amount is. It can be a one-time amount. You could send in a check or make an online donation and just put pledge 2021. Or you can say, look, I'll give X amount a week, X amount a month, or a quarter, or just once a year. But knowing what's coming is what is going to help us. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you will take the 40 by December 31st challenge and be one of those folks that will pledge their time, talent, and treasure to 2021. So here's that challenge. Thank you for your support.